you look at the chart as far as ETH to Bitcoin, it's at the lowest part you've seen in 3 years, basically, which is kind of absurd. I mean, you have a price call that was pretty impressive at the beginning of the year, but ETH has kind of just sat there, man. I mean, what do you make of, I guess, what it's going to take for that trend to reverse?
Yeah, I think that there are a couple things at play here. One, ETH has kind of found itself in this middle ground between Bitcoin and Solana. Within the Ethereum community, a lot of people are trying to make Ethereum this hard money asset, which this quote unquote they call it ultrasound money, which I think is a ridiculous path to go down because you're not going to win against Bitcoin on a decentralization on the plane of decentralization. And then on the other side of things, they are they're supposed to be the premier smart contract platform, right? Where people can build applications and transact and do things, build applications, right?
Yeah.
But then we've had Solana on that end, which is, has done a great job with node growth, updates to the network that have improved performance. They have FireDancer coming out at the end of this year. Clearly has been the onboarding mechanism for retail traders this cycle. A big reason why we've been very bullish on Solana for a while. And so it's been this weird middle child between these two. Not
And
to
as a
say
middle
that
child, I can say I know exactly how that feels. You're completely overlooked by
likewise.
almost everybody.
Now, that's not me anointing Solana or resigning Ethereum to the graveyard. I'm just saying that's kind of been the narrative. And there's also at the same time been this buyer strike as it's become more clear that the ETF is likely not to be approved at the end of May. And so I think we're gonna have an opportunity to rotate into ETH towards the end of May on an ETF decision. I think if it's denied, that weakness will be buyable because at the end of the day, I don't think that there was. I don't think it's institutional interest that is the bullish factor helping ETH price. I think it's all the other fundamental things around it.
Mm-hmm.
But then obviously if the ETF is surprisingly approved, that will obviously help that.
Yeah, that's an easy catalyst there for sure. But I mean, you have a price target of essentially a range of 6,400 to 9,000, and I would agree with you that ETH is kind of caught in this. Not to belabor the point, but caught in that middle ground between both Solana and Bitcoin. And do you see it still hitting those levels by the end of the year?
Yes. Yeah, we haven't changed that. A lot can happen in 7 months. And so, we haven't changed our price target. I think, if you look at where, I think, ETH doubled in a matter of months, Q4 into Q1. And so it's not a time constraint thing. I think it's just a narrative and a flows thing that needs to be resolved. And,
Yeah.
we still think that that'll happen this year.
Well, I mean, the ETH ETF, obviously, as you said, regardless, one way or another, we're going to get a decision at the end of May, so we'll keep our eyes out for that. But in your chart, you also kind of spotlight Eigenlayer, which is interesting, just kind of given the fact that there is that search for, all right, what can we do with ETH now? And that is an interesting one in that, you're scaling on the security that's offered by Ethereum to power other applications. The only problem is, I think the market right now is trying to figure out what applications can Eigenlayer power, and anyone's guess is as good as mine right now. I don't know if you're seeing anything in that sense that's signaling, okay, that might be the next thing that gets people reinvigorated and taking a second look at Ethereum.
Yeah, that's Zach. That's kind of like how crypto works. We kind of build infrastructure and hope people find a way to use it effectively. So aligned with the ETH ETF decision, I think there's this fundamental reason to think that flows will start coming into ETH, and that's a lot of the energy around Eigenlayer and the fact that there's this effort to export ETH security and have applications outsource their security needs to Ethereum. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to take a while as some of these AVSs go live and we actually see some competition around different yields within different different LRTs. But I think it could be a pretty interesting catalyst here as people look for both price and yield exposure to ETH.